Hi, I'm Jennifer Janish, owner of Adored Salon and Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions. I'm obsessed with curly hair. I cut it, style it, and extend it, and this podcast is all about my curly girl obsessions that stretch far beyond just curly hair. Hey, it's me, Jennifer, from the Curly Girls Obsessions that you're watching right now. Adored Salon, Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions, Jennifer, the curly specialist behind the chair, like all the things that I do, along with educating on curly hand-tied hair extensions. I'm here today to talk to you about probably the main thing that I get asked in life. And it comes from my clients, it comes from my friends asking me things, it comes from, my even my family and my kids and the things that I tell them. So today we're going to address how to overcome fear. And don't get me wrong, I have my fair share of stuff that I'm afraid of, like heights. I don't know I'll ever overcome that problem. It remains it remains my hardest thing to date that scares the absolute you know what out of me. But I still book vacations for us up in the mountains, and I scare myself to no end being driven up the mountain, feel like I'm hanging off the mountain. So I guess I try to overcome it. And let's just talk about the elephant in the room first before we go any further. If you've watched a lot of my podcasts, you have seen this iconic shirt that I love to wear. It's by Aritzia and it's their sculpt line. It's freaking amazing. I have this shirt in all the basic colors. White. I have it in white in high neck. I have it in a crew neck. I have it in sleeveless. I have it in short sleeve. I have it in black in a crew neck, in short sleeve, and a turtleneck. I have it in gray in a turtleneck size. Like this line of clothes, I love, 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 love. Like everything is just smoothed out, looks good, at least to my thought process, it is. And I even have some really cute summer like tanks that are from this line that are amazing. So, if you think you've seen me in this so many times, you really haven't, because honestly, I could be wearing it in so I could be wearing so many other shirts, but actually I'm not even ashamed. If it's been the same freaking shirt, it's been the same freaking shirt. Because I love it. It's one of those pieces that goes with everything. So if you're interested in purchasing it, it's from Aritzia. It's their sculpt line. And I don't have the exact name for it, but that's where it's at. Anywho, let's get back to the topic of fear. So, I wrote down some notes about all the things that I really think about. Like, I really took time to dive deep into this podcast and really lay out the the things that drive me, the things that are like cutthroat, and how I do these things. Again, I'm going to give some examples as I'm going through these four main topics. Um, and let me tell you, like when I was younger, it wasn't talked about like anxiety, right? Or nervousness. Like you just went in the bathroom and threw up and then carried on with your day. Like I honestly just thought that I had like some kind of weird disorder because nobody talked about fear and anxiety like they talk about it today. It was kind of the quiet thing that went on behind the scenes and you just dealt with it, right? But now we have so much conversation around these two very words, fear and anxiety, and what to do to overcome them, what triggers them, like all the things. Um, but let's start out with this. Fear and excitement actually are from the same emotion. The only difference is the meaning that you put on the word, right? Like it emits the same feeling, fear and excitement. Like I could be driving in my car and someone will turn fast in front of me and I have to stop really quick. And I notice like my entire body will tingle at that moment. Like it's this weird feeling of like, I don't know if it's because I've tensed up so bad or it's just my subconscious coming out. This is how it reacts to a situation like that. And I could also be doing something that I am so in tune with, so in love with, so excited for, and have that same crazy tingling feeling sensation come over my entire body. So you have to really think about the meaning that you're placing with your fear in order to shift it into excitement, right? Because, and honestly, it really does come down to your mindset and how you think about things. So, fear, for instance, for so long, I've been doing curly hair. For so long, I've been doing hair extensions. I've owned 15 years, I've been doing hair extensions. And I've owned the extension line for 6 years. Can I just tell you the level of fear I had about putting myself out there to educate on the hair extensions? Like I paid thousands and thousands of dollars to go to one-on-one classes, large group classes, take my whole salon with me across the country to sit in on classes and see how they were doing things because I knew my team also needed to be in on this with me, because they were going to help me with the curl tour and be a part of it. Because there again, there was this fear of doing something on my own and being alone and honestly just measuring up, right? Like that was what I kept putting in front of myself, like constantly. And um, and then I took the baby steps of taking that education. I was afraid of putting myself out there for a large group class because I was kind of like, okay, what if I do a large group class and nobody shows up? If I just start with one-on-one and I only have to have a class when someone signs up, then it doesn't look like I'm this loser, right? Because nobody showed up to my large group class. And it was those baby steps that I needed to take in order to overcome the fear and put myself out there. Now, okay, do we put large group class out there and nobody signs up? Yeah, it just happened in February. Um, and I think again, it was my mindset that caused that not to happen because I was like, oh my gosh, the way that the politics are right now, everybody's holding on to their money. People are afraid to spend money. I don't think anybody's going to sign up for this class. I'm just going to put it on my website and see what happens. And because I said all of those things to myself, we didn't have one single sign up. Like, and no figure because I was what was blocking it, right? Instead of taking that fear and putting it into excitement and being like, this is the best freaking class that's out there for hair extensions, because not only one, are you learning an install method, but two, your install method carries across multiple textures. And I teach you exactly how to do a curly install from start to finish. in the F is actually even doing this? Nobody. So who could say I was stupid? Nobody, because nobody knows how it's really done. And that kind of comes with the fear of pioneering something, being the first to do it. Like, is it going to be accepted? Everybody looks on social media and they say, see smoothed out hair extensions with hot tool curling iron curls. That's the norm. That's what everybody thinks that hair extensions are about. So, why would they want to come to my curly class? Like, can I think of a million ways to hype myself up to be petrified over teaching curly hand tied hair extensions? The answer is actually yes, because I do it on a continual basis. But like when I say that here in this forum, right? I'm like, Jennifer, stop being a dumbass. You have a skill that a lot of people probably really want to learn. And if they don't know that they need to learn it, they need to learn it because 87% of the world has some form of wave ticking. I'm sure all my listeners who are loyal and subscribe and download, yada, 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 already know that statistic. And they're like, why aren't your classes sold out? Well, it's called the fear and excitement block, right? I think I do it to myself because I'm scared. Instead of taking the meaning of that feeling and putting it into excitement, I'm choosing to put it into fear and scare the bejesus out of myself and create these problems for myself, right? And it just is what it is. But when you think about it, in the morning, when I have the perfect morning routine, I get up, I have my coffee, I sit on my couch, my dogs cooperate. Either they stay upstairs or they come down and sit on the couch with me in their proper spots, not to disrupt me. And I usually do a meditation that lasts anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. I get my head in the right space, and the entire day transitions from whatever I would fear into excitement. And I know that I'm going to have a killer ass day, right? Those are the days that I should get on social media and talk about these classes because my head is in the right space. It's going in the good space. And also I'll follow that up with getting on my treadmill for 20 to 30 minutes and I'll walk fast, I'll even jog, I'll do like 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes. The endorphins that that releases really helps to remove the fear from the day, right? Or if it's not even removing the fear, it's just getting my mindset to take that emotion and call it excitement and not say that it's fear. You know, the one thing that I tell my kids and that I tell the girls that I work with on a regular basis is whatever you fear, you need to look it in the eye and you got to walk right through it. The first 60 seconds are going to fucking suck. And then after that, it's over. Like you've done it. So how much worse could it be? Like you've gotten through it. And we are talking about pretty minor things there, right? Like with my kids, what could it be? Like um I don't know, talking to a teacher about a homework assignment or emailing. You know, my one daughter's in college, and sometimes she doesn't agree with the grades that the professor will give, and they grade on a curve and all these things. And I'm like, just email the professor and ask him to explain this to you. I don't know if I could do that. Of course, you can do it. You can send an email, right? And now she does it all the time. It's totally fine. Um, and in the salon, sometimes it could be a difficult client. Sometimes it could be the service that's being rendered, right? Like, I don't know, but you got to get over it in order to get anywhere in life because fear is only going to hold you back and excitement, it's just going to push you forward. So you got to remember that. You just got to remember that. And this next part, I told you I had four. The second part of fear is being able to risk it all. You have to become okay with the worst case scenario. My best description of this or story, let's say it's a story time about this, was is while owning this hairline, George signature hand tied hair, I've been through it. Okay. Like I'll tell you, there have been so many times where I've been like, I'm totally out of my wheelhouse. I don't understand this. I didn't go to school for this. I even said one time to myself, actually, it was more than once, like, I'm not a man and I just don't belong in this situation of this big business dealing with what I deal with. Excuse me. And to say that today is actually National Women's Day. So like, hello, no, I had to get over that one real fast. And there was a couple times in which I literally said to myself, Jennifer, you have to act like a man in this situation. Now, okay, why did I say that to myself? One, because women usually do things based on emotion. We are emotional beings. We are the caretakers. We are the ones that are loving and caring, right? Men seem to be able to do things without a care. They could, if someone pisses them off, they have no problem hitting block or telling them like, get out of here, right? At least a lot of men that I know. And or just like having that professionalism to move forward where they're like, okay, I got to move on to the next thing. I can't care about this thing. That's basically, I think, what it is like in a man's world, you could have an argument and within 5 minutes, they could be totally over it and forgotten about it and moved on to whatever it else is that is next in line. Whereas a woman could have an argument and try to move on in the day, and they're going to think all throughout the day and probably days to follow about 10,000 ways that they could have told that person off better, or how they could have handled it better, or what they could have done better instead of just being okay with what they did. That's just a woman mindset, right? So back to this time when I said to myself, Jennifer, you're just going to have to think like a man in this situation, and you're going to have to be able to risk it all. So, this was when I was working with my first supplier. A couple episodes, probably in the beginning, like probably within the first 10 episodes, I might have talked about my journey with the hair extensions. I don't know how deep I went into this, but a couple episodes back, it was probably like how I started a hand tied hairline or something like that. But regardless, I may have talked about this situation. And in this situation with my first supplier, we would get, first of all, when it comes to hair extensions, and when I deal with my supplier who is in India, the typical format for this goes that you are wiring money, right? So you go to your bank and you're like, here's my invoice. My invoice would be anywhere from 30,000 to $65,000, right? In the beginning. And I would literally wire money from my bank account to my supplier's bank account. If you're familiar with a wire, it's like you're sending cash in an envelope over the ocean to India, and you're praying to the hair gods that you're going to get all these hair extensions in return, right? So you wire this money, and this supplier in the very beginning was quick on my turnarounds, right? Like I would see that product back here in the United States within anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks. The more I became in business with him, the more heavily integrated, the more he was dependent on my money as I was dependent on him for the product. He would pull shit with me where he'd be like, "Okay, well, I'm not sending this order's finished, but I'm not sending it to you until you give me your next order and you pay for it." And I'd be like, I need the order that you have in order to generate the income in order for me to pay you. But do you see how manipulative this was to draw me in? And being the person that I am, I like freaking would panic. And then and then the crazier part was all of a sudden, because we were wiring the money for the next order, the two invoices now became one from the first and the second. And we couldn't make heads or tails out of the fact if we were getting the right product or not. Even like it was so screwed up, right? Okay, so this one time I'm waiting on that hair. It's like 16 weeks at this point, and I'm freaking furious. And I tell him, like, I'm so mad at you. I need this hair. Why isn't it here? And he says, you know, I want you to send me your Karen styling videos that you just created. That's what it was. And I was like, no, those are my videos. And he was like, well, we're a partnership. I'm like, our partnership is that I pay you money to produce a product to ship to me in the United States. We are not a partnership in the fact that my styling videos that I created are yours so that you could go to other stylists and be like, oh, hey, this is how you maintain and take care of wavy and curly hand tied hair extensions. And I'm not trying to be like a bitch about it, but that was my content. That wasn't his to share. Took me a lot. It took me a lot of money to make those. Took me a lot of time to create the whole situation. Um, and like, I wasn't about sharing the wealth from my supplier. I was busting my ass back here in the States growing this business, paying for an e-commerce site, doing all the work to set that up, doing all the work to communicate with people, trying to elevate the brand, trying to bring about brand awareness. And then he could take my Karen styling videos and go to other stylists within the United States and be like, oh, this is all that you need to do, buy my hair. No, that's just not how business works. And when I told him that I wouldn't do that for him, give him the Karen styling videos, he was like, then I'm not sending you your hair, and proceeded to block me on all communication lines. WhatsApp, social media. Like, I thought I would lose my mind. This literally kept me up at night, right? And for the first, couple days, I was just spinning. And then I got to this point where I was like, had the realization, you're just going to have to act like a man in this situation, man up, and tell this pain in the ass that you don't stand for this, and be willing to lose it all. And when I say lose it all, that meant all the money that I had shipped across the ocean for this product, because he was holding the product and he already had my money. And so, interestingly enough, in the beginning, I said, we have this business relationship. You can't be my only contact. I need other contacts within your organization in case something were to happen to you. I need to know who I can speak to in order to keep this business going. So, with that, I got his mother's name and his wife's name and both of their phone numbers. And the mom was a partner with him within the business. So, I messaged the mom and I told her, like, look, listen, this is what your son has done to me. I know you guys are partners in business. And I know how much I spend with you in a year. And if you cannot fix this problem, I'm just going to walk away from you guys and I will find somebody else to fulfill this need. But I really would like you to try and make this right now. Now, right in that moment, I knew that, like, I was going to be dealing with the worst case scenario possible if things did not go my way, if they called my bluff. Like, there was a lot that I had to lose in this transaction. So, and this conversation, because of India time, went down at like 3:30 in the morning. And I do remember like not sleeping for days over this. And I got a hold of her and we talked, and within a week that hair was on my doorstep. And um lo and behold, half of it was destroyed. Half of it was I can't even say that it was the wrong product. It was just really bad hair. And so we lost out on a lot of money. It was funny. My mom named that hair like King Kong hair or something. It looked like an SOS pad. And they told me like that I was a liar, that I put water on it. And I'm like, if I put water on this hair and that's what caused this problem, then we've got way bigger issues. And since I've been ordering hair with you for over a year and a half, and this has not happened, this issue falls on you. You need to remediate this. And I couldn't ship the hair back because then it would cost them more in duties to get this hair back than it would to replace it. Although I did threaten that I was going to ship it back, and that got things rolling. But no, like, there again, like, I had to play the game of dealing with, they would only send me 33%, 33%, 33%. I would get it in increments of a third over the course of like 6 to 8 months of me placing new orders and them being able to pad this order with that much hair that had been destroyed, right? Sounds crazy, I know, but it was definitely a moment in time that was a massive leap for me, because I was willing to get rid of it all at that point. Like, I was so up in arms over the whole situation. It was so upsetting that I was like, either one, it's going to end, or two, I'm going to move forward and it's going to be a positive situation. Good news is it worked out in my favor. And from that moment on, I never trusted that person again. I learned something, right? Like, getting to that point of being able to lose it all, deal with the worst case scenario, um, took my brain into a different thought process. It was removed from being like in fear. I can't say that I really would call it excitement because there was a lot of nerves that were wrapped up within it, but it just like, it gave me this sense of power. And that's probably what what that difference is, right? Like, you're moving from the fear emotion into the excitement emotion. You're placing a different meaning on what that word means, and you're willing to be able to give it up, right? You're willing to deal with the worst case scenario. And once you've had your mind shift that way, you're 100% in a sense of power, because you're kind of like, I just don't even give a fuck anymore. Like, let the shit crumble, let the castle fall, because at this point, I ain't got anything more that I can lose besides me and my self worth, confidence, whatever it is that you name it. So, one is fear and excitement are the same emotion. It's just the meaning on which you place on it. Two, Be okay with worst case scenario because it's going to move you ahead. It's going to give you the strength, right? In the beginning, it may not feel like it, but eventually you get there and you get over the fear and you can be that person. Be it that you say, like, I'm going to think like a man or whatever it is, right? Um, that's going to take you to get there. Let's see. Third is focus on them and not on you. This is an interesting one because I'm on social media a lot. Obviously, I'm on here talking to you guys and talking, sometimes I do it with someone else. Sometimes I do it by myself, right? Like just like today. Um, was I afraid of being on the camera in the beginning? Hell yes, I was scared out of my mind. I was like, oh my God, I don't even know how I can do this. And um, it, even going back several years, like pre-social media, right? When Facebook came out, I remember being so scared to post on Facebook about my salon because I was like, what will they think of me? What will this group of moms that I'm friends with think of, like, who am I to do this, um and then into the years of social media, still that same block, like, oh my gosh, what about the moms at my kids school? What are they going to think of me? What are they going to, and then there's always that one person in the back of your mind that's like, so and so is so going to judge me for what I say here. And honestly, those people probably could care less about what you're doing. And in order to remove the fear from that situation, you have to remind yourself that what you're putting out there is actually for the greater good, right? Like, well, at least hopefully it's for the greater good. You're saying these things and you're teaching these things, you're delivering value for them. It's not about you. It has nothing to do with you. And nobody remembers like that a hair was out of place or that you wore the same white shirt for 5 podcasts. I don't know. Like, I guess I had to address that in the beginning. Like, look at that. Like, there was a situation that I had to address for myself in the beginning of this podcast because of this shirt. And I probably took up 5 minutes discussing this freaking shirt that everybody's like, oh, now I'm going to have to go back and watch those other podcasts to see, right? Like, nobody really gives two shits. What they care about is what you have to say. And how to get them to care is always deliver something of value when you're talking. And that comes down to also speaking in front of a crowd. I used to hate public speaking. I hated speech class. There's even a podcast all about how I overcame my fear of public speaking. And oh my gosh, I would be petrified to speak in front of people. I totally could do great one-on-one, but put me in a situation where people are sitting down and I'm standing up and I'm delivering. Oh my, like, I would throw up. So, but again, it was figuring out that the message that I was delivering had nothing to do with me and everything to do with the reason why they were sitting there listening to me. They wanted to understand what I had to share. They wanted to hear the value that was being delivered that day. Had nothing to do with me again, right? Like, so if you take away the fact that it's not about you, it's about them, it's who you serve, it's who you love, it's what you care about, it's what you do, it's what you know, you've removed that fear again. Like, it's not about you. So get on Instagram and do the lives, do the hands free in your story, talk about your life, go on Facebook, do a live, talk about it, whatever. If you have a strong message to share and it's like you to many people, freaking get out there and do it. And remember, it's not about you, it's about them. They're not going to remember that your shirt wasn't ironed, or, all the little things that we would worry about before the situation actually happens. That's removing the fear and just creating excitement in order to deliver the value that you have to give. So remove the fear. Fourth, sometimes, no matter all these things that we have just discussed, you just have to do it scared. There's no way around it. Some things you're not going to be able to sit back in your brain and say, oh, this really isn't fear. This is excitement. This is the meaning that I'm placing on it. Oh, I'm just ready to risk it all, because you might be in that risk it all moment and you might have to act really fast. And you also, the whole them versus me situation, it's not about you, it's about them. Sometimes it freaking might be about you, and you might be called to the table and you might have to do it anyways. If you're always accountable for your actions, that means taking responsibility for all the things that you do. If it got you in a situation that you might be fearful of, that you've got to just address, what are you going to be afraid of? Like, yeah, I did that. These are the repercussions. It is what it is, right? Like, sometimes you're just going to have to overcome that mountain. Okay, speaking of mountains, I tell you that I'm afraid of heights. And I love the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. My family has vacationed there so many times. One of my clients told me about this place that she went, and on a trip to Florida, we stayed 2 days there to test it out. And it's so funny because this place is amazing. It's a bunch of privately owned cabins that are managed by a company called Natural Retreats. And the place is actually called Brothers Cove. Whenever I go and I post to social media about it, everybody's asking me, they want to see it, they want to go. 9 times out of 10, my friends end up going there and saying how awesome it is. And because this client was kind of like a bougie client and she told me about it, I'm like, okay, it's not just going to be a cabin in the middle of the woods. It's going to be a nice place. And sure enough, it was a really nice place. My husband was even hesitant on going there. He's like, oh my God, why do I get this vibe? Like, that's like where axe murderers are, like cabins up on the mountains in the woods. I'm like, you're so ridiculous. But honestly, at the same time, I was thinking the same thing and I was a little bit freaking nervous. But, anyways, we go. And these cabins are up on the side of a mountain. Like, you drive, it's a gated community. You drive in, the road is windy going up this mountain. It's a one-way road at one point. And, there's no guardrails. I don't know. People in Tennessee must just have really good balance and just a good eye for driving, because there's no guardrails anywhere. And there's this one curve going up the mountain where it literally is like an S, and it's a really deep turn. And I always know that this is coming because we've driven up this mountain so many times and I just want to scream, right? Like, I start to go crazy. The first time we did it, I actually was like leaning over in my seat, probably almost crying. And my kids were like, Mom, it's okay. It's okay. My husband was laughing his ass off. And so we go up this mountain, and that's the first turn. That's scary. There's so many until you get up to the house. And several of the houses that we've stayed in have literally been on stilts on the side of the mountain. So, like, here's the mountain. The foundation comes out of the mountain. It's like a concrete patio. And then there's stilts that hold up that concrete patio that are pylon like into the ground. And then the cabin is sitting up there. It's not even attached to the mountain. It's sitting like on this concrete patio, right? And it gets windy up there and there's bad storms and stuff, and it does shake. And I remember in the beginning, like, my kids running and me being like, oh my God, you're shaking this whole house. And so when you turn into the driveway to get onto the concrete patio off of the one lane road, like it's always nerve wracking because you're like, oh my God, if the tires fall off of this, like we're going down this very steep ass mountain. Of course, the tires have never fallen off. My husband is a great driver. We get on the patio every time. And this is like the back of the house. And so, I have booked this trip for us probably 6 times now, 5 or 6 times. And every time we get to that point of like, we're going, I'm totally fine. We start driving, we get into Tennessee, and then we get on the main road to go up to these cabins. And all of a sudden, in that moment, I'm like, oh shit, it is coming. And I am getting so nervous because I know what's ahead of me. Like, we got to drive up this damn mountain. Every time we're on this vacation, I'm like, we are going to be back before it's dark because driving up this shit dark is even worse. Oh my God, I just burped too much coffee. Sorry. So, and the last time we went, every single night, we didn't come back until after dark. And if you've ever been out in the mountains in the dark, you know it's freaking pitch black. It's pitch black. And now you're driving up this road, and I'm placing all my trust into my husband and our car. And yeah, like there's nothing else that I can do but just to get through that fear. And that's kind of a funny fear, right? A scary fear that I would have to just get through is a very hard client. I will tell you that where I am at in my career, this stage of my career, I, knock on wood, don't deal with very many hard clients. In the salon, I deal with hard clients that have come in and have seen other people. But by the time they're coming to me, they're either one like my best friend by this point because I've done their hair so many times, or or they've paid a lot for the appointment. So they're pretty invested in the fact and confident that I'm going to do a good job. But I've had my fair share of really hard clients. And I remember when I had just graduated high school, graduated beauty school, to be honest. So I was 17 years old. I was working in this salon, and I had just started, and two of their stylists quit. These stylists had been with this salon for a long time. And so their clients were very used to experienced hairdressers working on their hair. When these stylists left, was back in the day, like there was no social media, there was no internet. So it wasn't so easy to find that stylist, and the salon really held on to their clients. So I got gifted a lot of these clients. And this client came in, and she was probably in her early 60s. Her name was Dorothy. And she had like that super short haircut in the back and just kind of like, 90-degree layers all the way around. Like this haircut wasn't very hard, but she was convinced that I was going to screw it up. And I'll never forget. She looked at me, and the owner was standing next to me, and she was in front of us. And she's like, yeah, that baby is not going to be doing my haircut today. And with all my might, I was sweating so hard on the inside. I don't think I was sweating on the outside. I might have been. But I looked at her in the eye and I said to her, listen, I know I look young and I'm sure you're scared, but I guarantee you're going to walk out of here with the best haircut you've ever gotten because I'm so dedicated to my skill and my craft, and I love what I do, and I do it well. I don't even know where those words came from at age 17 or the fact that I knew I had to look her in the eye, but she was like, "Oh, okay." And I shampooed her. I am an amazing shampoo person. I've been doing it since I was 11 years old. And so I gave her a shampoo, and she was like a butter in my hands at that point because she was so impressed with the shampoo. Then we went back to the station and I cut her hair. A haircut that should have taken me 30 minutes took me an hour and 15 minutes because now I was sweating on the outside. I was doing that shit so scared. It was not even fun, but I got through it. I got through it and I grew in the process. And that's the thing about doing shit scared is as hard as it may be, you will grow from it. Even if it feels like salt in a wound, you are going to grow from it. You unless you're stupid and you don't find the takeaways. But if you do something that really pushes you outside of your comfort zone, you are going to gain 10,000 fold from that scenario. It's just going to grow you that much more as a person. That I learned in that day, in that very moment. And I carried that through with me for life. I have told that story so many times about Dorothy and that haircut. It seems so minor, it seems so small. But to me, in my 17-year-old mind, that was so scared. That was one of the biggest hurdles that I jumped over in a probably in my whole life, right? Like it was one of those things where I really had to deliver and step up and do exactly what I said I was going to do. So it was a massive growth moment. And while we can talk about all these things, how to shift fear to excitement, how to accept that you're going to do this, and what's the worst case scenario that you say it's about them, it's not about me, I'm here to serve, I'm here to deliver my greatest message, and I'm just going to do it scared. It's that you take away from every situation that you've been so fearful with, what was the good that came on the other side, what was the growth, what was the benefit, because that's what you're gaining, right? Like there's a reason why God put that situation in front of you. He wanted you to experience so that you could be that much more. He had to teach you this lesson. You needed to learn it. It just came at that moment in time. So, fear is actually a really good thing because it's what drives you out of bed in the morning. What makes you go to work. It's the things that make you function in society like a human that is like giving back, right? You're doing your part. And if we didn't fear things, we'd be lazy asses on our couch, drinking, Coca-Cola all day long, eating Doritos, playing, video games, watching YouTube, whatever. Like that's not the life. The life is serving others, doing things that are good for you, learning from your failures, creating new situations in order to grow, stepping out of your box and becoming more than what you are today in this very moment. And that's what fear does for you. So those are my top things when it comes to fear, um, that I do in order to not be afraid or to become more. So I hope you found some great value in this. This is our 50th episode, and maybe it's 51, but it is the start of season 2 of the Curly Girls Obsessions. Now, let me tell you, I would love to hear from you guys. If there are topics that you want me to talk about, send them in to me. You can DM me on Instagram at Jennifer_Johnson_Janish. If you really want to make sure it gets to me, send me an email at Jennifer at adored, ADORED hair extensions.com. Those I'll definitely see. If you have a topic, you have an interest, or maybe even if you've been a friend of mine and you would like to be on here and you have something you would like to talk about, I'm open. Like we are this far in. Most podcasts don't make it past 12 episodes, and we are 50 episodes proud. So, signing off for today, if you found value in this episode and you would like to share it with a friend, share it. If you would like to leave a review and tell everybody how you gained something from this, leave a review. Or follow or subscribe, depending on where you're watching or listening it from. These are all the things that make this podcast grow. Thank you for watching and listening and, you know, just taking this time to be with me. Hope you have an awesome day. Bye.